Has anybody seen this photo before? Well, it's estimated that about 1 billion people have seen this photo in one way or another. Now, it's been many, many years since that picture was used in any kind of uh, literature, advertising campaign, so forth and so on. But the man in that picture was one David Lawrence Kirby. He was affected with the AIDS virus, and that picture was taken in Columbus, Ohio, at the Pater Noster House, which was an AIDS hospice in Columbus, Ohio. And that man that's cradling him in his hands, that's Bill Kirby. That's his dad. So David was born December 6th, 1957, here in Stafford, Ohio. Very, very small town. I don't even think 500 people live here at most. And, growing up in the 60s, 70s, he knew he was gay. And back in those days, when you were a gay youth, especially in a very, very small town in the Midwest, like we're here at now, you're not going to be treated very well. You know what I mean? It was a different time back then. And, like a lot of kids growing up, kind of confused about their sexual orientation, David finally came out to his parents and told them that he was gay. And like a lot of times when kids back in those days would come out to their parents, it was met with a negative reaction. So what do? You're 16, 17, 18 years old. You live in, a very small town here. What do? You're gay and, you want to kind of be accepted, but people really aren't going to accept you. So David would do what a lot of young gay people did. You go to the West Coast, which back then it was more accepted. It was more accepted. So he ended up moving to Los Angeles, and he would later become a activist for the gay community. And now when you're going into the early 80s, you're starting to find that there's a disease that it seems to be afflicting only gay men, and it makes them very, very sick, and they quickly die of this disease. It would later be called AIDS, HIV/AIDS. And in that community, men could be very promiscuous. It was the norm to have multiple partners and nobody's using protection. It wasn't a thing that was done. Even though the disease was kind of ravaging the gay community, a lot of times people said, they would just go without using protection. Now, in the early 90s, there was a bigger push to, for people of all sexual orientations to use protection when they engage in sexual activity. It was in 1987, David started getting sick. He came down with the flu, wasn't feeling too good. His neck was kind of sore. He had a swollen lymph nodes on the side. And he's never been so sick in his life. And he goes to the doctor and he gets tested, and it comes back that he has HIV/AIDS. 1987, a doctor tells you that you have HIV/AIDS. That's a death sentence. Automatic death sentence. So he calls his mom and his dad, and he tells them the news. He said, listen, I know you guys don't approve of my lifestyle, but I've tested positive for AIDS, and I'm very, very sick now, and I want to come home. So they told him to come home. He kind of came back here to Stafford, and he progressively got worse to the point where he had to go to the Pater house in Columbus because his parents were no longer able to take care of him. So he's at this hospice, and he's slowly getting sicker and sicker and losing weight, and his parents are coming to see him. Columbus is about 125, 130 miles away from here. And at that time, there was a man who was a caregiver at that hospice. He just went by the name of Pate. And he had met a friend who was a student at the University of Ohio at Athens. She was a journalist major. Her name was Teresa Frere. And she was kind of just shadowing Pate and taking pictures of the hospice and the people there. So one of the family members had approached, one of David's family members approached Teresa, and they said if she would take their pictures with their son. And over the course of maybe a few days or maybe a few weeks, she would go in there, kind of see him, take some pictures or what have you. And one day, things are looking very, very grim for David. It's May 5th, 1990, and he's very, very sick. He hasn't eaten anything in probably months. I mean, it's getting very, very difficult for him to keep food down. And he's probably not even 85 pounds. And one of the family members allowed Teresa to come in and take pictures of David. And as you can see in these pictures, she was kind of in the corner of the room, like, staying silent. And she was just taking pictures. And it's the one picture where they believe that David probably drew his last breath as it was taken. And this is his grave. David Lawrence Kirby, the great use of a life is for something that outlasts it. Quite a powerful picture, and when I see pictures like that, I've always been mystified by the moment that people are in that picture. And very tough picture to see, because you see a young kid dying. I mean, not a kid, but he pretty young. I believe he was 32 years of age when he passed, and to see a father who probably didn't have much of a relationship with his son because of his sexual orientation, and just how terribly painful that was to, a baby that you helped create with a woman that you held as a baby, and now you're holding him, you held him in the beginning of his life, and now you're holding him at the end of his life. It's there's something rather unsettling and unnatural about it. Rest in peace to David Kirby. And before I end the video, when the photographer asked David here if she could, if it were cool to take his picture, he said yes, as long as you don't benefit personally in a monetary sense from the picture. So we're going to have to find something to do with this here video and the proceeds from it. This is his dad right here. All right, guys, I am out of here. I'm hitting the road. Uh, did not expect to come this far east this late in the year, but I had to come for this story. I actually was here 20 miles away back in September, and it slipped my mind to come, but I'm glad I did now. All right, I'm out of here. Have a good one. Peace out.